Well, welcome to the Citadel of Metal Fellowship. Today, an incredible opportunity to interview a band called Pythia from the UK. And how I've never heard of this band, I don't know, but definitely love this new EP. And I'm definitely going back through their back catalog to, maybe review some of their other music, but they may have something coming before I can get to that, which is exciting news too. So please welcome Sophie Dorman and Ross White. And I'll let you guys introduce yourselves and
So,
then, of course, just say what you play or what you do in the band.
Hi, I'm Sophie. I'm the vocalist in the band.
I'm Ross. I play guitar in the band.
All right. And both of them are probably two of the best reasons to listen to this album, although the entire band is a fantastic
Mm.
cohesive unit, very strong in all departments, keyboards, drums, bass, they got it all. So yeah, definitely if you haven't heard them like me, get out there and find out about them. They're wonderful. So tell us, please describe how the band began, emerged, and evolved. Tell us how you got your foundation.
I guess I'd probably better go with that then, since I'm one of the founding members. The band originally started back in 2007, so it's been going a while now. And it basically came about myself and Mark, the drummer. We were in sort of a thrash metal type band together before that for years, but that band was kind of coming to an end. And around about that time, the two of us had started listening to sort of more sort of power metal and progressive metal type stuff. And we were thinking, oh, for our next project, it might be interesting to do something a bit more along the lines of sort of Nightwish, Sonata Arctica, Camelot, that sort of stuff, but mixing in some of our sort of thrash and death metal background as well. Um, so basically, it starts off myself and I say Mark, the drummer. We came up with the idea of doing this project, and we got in contact with our first singer, who was called Emily, and basically started writing some songs together just to see how it goes. We thought maybe it might just be one or two songs, might be an EP, it might just be something we try and it doesn't work. We had no preconceptions really. But once we started writing and demoing some songs together, the three of us, we thought, oh, this sounds this good. I think we're onto something here. Let's keep going. And so then we sort of filled in. We got a keyboardist, lead guitarist, bassist, and ended up, just keep writing. And next thing you know, we had sort of our first album, which came out in 2009, and it just kind of went from there, sort of thing.
All right, Sophie, do you want to talk about joining the band, or go ahead,
Yeah, so I
or
I
your past,
joined.
also your past history, where you came from? Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been singing a long time, but I'd only sort of been in kind of like pub playing bands up until the point when Ross got in touch. I had sort of a bit of a social media presence at that time, and I heard from Ross in maybe 2014 or 15, I think, that Pythia were auditioning for a new vocalist, and I'd heard of them. I think I'd listened to a few tracks around the time that that first album came out. So I was like, oh, I remember these guys. So I decided to go for it, and yeah, it all worked out very nicely. So yeah, so I've been on the this most recent release and the one before that.
And she said a pop background, but oh my God, you fit right in vocally. I mean, you got that commanding presence. You wouldn't know you came from a pop background. You sound like you were metal all your life, doesn't she, Ross?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think once we started looking for a new singer, so we did with our previous singer, we did three albums. So we released all our stuff we've released just sort of through our own label, sort of independently, which is probably a good reason why you haven't heard of us before, because we haven't had a big label backing us or anything. But we'd released three albums with our previous singer and our previous band members. We've had a few band member changes through the years, and it came to the stage where we weren't going to be working with Emily any longer. She'd sort of said that would be her last album. She was going to move on to other things. And so then we thought, okay, well, we weren't sure at the time. Are we still going to carry on with Pythia, or should we do something different? And then we decided in the end, myself and Mark, no, no, we do still want to carry on with Pythia. We still are enjoying writing this music. We're enjoying writing with this group of musicians. So let's see what our options are for a new singer. And that's when we started putting the feelers out for contacted a few singers. We had a few singers contact us, had some recommendations for some people. And in the end, we sort of whittled it down to sort of a final three, Sophie being one of them. Sophie came about by being sort of like a friend of a friend of a friend sort of thing.
Mm.
And but then I saw on her social media profile that it mentioned that she was sort of classically trained and had a degree in medieval literature, which I thought, well, that's
Oh,
going to be great for writing lyrics, isn't it? So that'll be
yeah,
perfect. But obviously,
very
but then
important.
we sent out sort of a song without any vocals on it to the people who wanted to audition. And when Sophie's one came back, it's like, oh yeah, that sounds really good. That really fits. And so we sort of whittled it down to like a final three and did like rehearsals with them. And after those rehearsals, like the rest of us looked at each other and go, yeah, Sophie's the one who she just sounded right on the songs. Like
Authentic. Yeah.
it just sounded right, which we weren't sure when we were looking for a new singer whether that would even happen. Like you sort of think, oh no, what if the songs never quite sound right again? But they absolutely did. And then sort of yeah, so Sophie joined the band, and then we started writing songs, and so we've released one album with Sophie in the band, and now this new EP as well.
And how about for you, Sophie? How did you feel? And wait, before you do that, I just got to ask him, what was it like hearing her, sing some of these? Let's talk about the EP. Just hearing her sing some of those songs, I'm telling you, she brings not that you guys don't with the music you're playing, but that voice, it's like, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. The band is fantastic. It's sounds fantastic. Then you put a fantastic female in front of that band, and it's almost like turning a light on. And that's what it felt like when I heard this. What did it feel like to you, Ross? And then I definitely want to see how she felt about all the. Um, Go ahead.
Well, yeah, again, that's all part of the when we had Sophie join the band. Obviously, we rehearsed with her. We'd heard her sing some of the older songs, and we knew it sounded good on that. And we played some shows together. But then the next part is then once you start writing new songs together, how's Sophie going to fit in? Like, is the writing going to work seamlessly, or is it going to be fiddly? Because you working with different people through the years, people have different writing styles. Some people are very malleable. Some people they're just like they've got a real set idea, and it's kind of everyone's going to have to kind of move around their idea because they cannot change from that idea. But once we started writing new songs with Sophie, immediately it became apparent that her writing style was much more sort of malleable and creative than what we'd had before. In that we whatever we delivered to her musically, she could work with that and come up with something cool and interesting. And once we started getting demos back with vocals on them, again straight we were like, oh yeah, this sounds great, this sounds right. It's still got the right vibe of old Pythia, but it sounds fresh and new as well because it's just a fresh set of influences. And yeah, the writing new stuff together, the lineup of the band we have now. I say we've had a few lineup changes through the years. Myself and Mark, the drummer, are like the only original members left as such. We've had a couple of different bass players, a couple of different keyboardists and stuff. But we haven't had big fallings out with them. We remain friends with all of them and that, but they just go on to do other things. Or another thing is a lot of people, once they have kids or their job changes, it's just become difficult to have
Too difficult.
time
Yeah.
time to work on music stuff. So we've had to change band members a little bit through the years. But this lineup we've got now that did the EP and did the previous album, The Solace of Ancient Earth, it's the same lineup we've had for like two releases now, and we work really well together. We all get on really well, and so it's a really smooth unit, and it's a good working group we have at the moment.
That academic background that you talked about, the medieval, that definitely helps her write better. And let's let her mention how she felt about the whole thing.
Yeah, so I mean, it was definitely I thought it was cool that that was something they were interested in because obviously I was studying it and that sort of informs a lot of the lyrics of the songs. I think I gave it a go, and then when it was sort of whittled down to the final two or three, I think I went to have like an in-person rehearsal and kind of meet up with everyone else in the band, and we just gelled straight away. Like everyone's really easy to get on with. We all kind of are on the same page, I think, about what kind of direction we want the band to go in, and sort of how our sort of ways of working and ways of writing and those sorts of things. So it just felt like a really natural fit.
All right. You mentioned three big bands that were sort of your influence, but where you were more dark metal, who are some of your favorite bands? Well, each of you guys, and who inspired you to sing? Because that, or sing or play, because that's always important. I mean, where you came from, what made turn this switch and said, I got to make music. What was it that did that for both of you?
For
You
me, it
go
was
first.
yeah, okay. Yeah, so for me, I started singing when I was like a teenager, sort of 12, 13ish. And when I first got into metal, my big influence was Nightwish, as you can probably tell, and like other sort of things of that nature. So that was what really got me into singing for the first part. But then, kind of as time has gone on, I've gotten into sort of wider varieties of music. So on the metal side, I like a bit of sort of black metal, and my main thing at the moment is like progressive metal. Um, so favorite bands at the moment are things like Leprous and that sort of thing.
And Ross?
Yeah. For me, well, starting up, I think I've just kind of always, as long as I can remember, being into sort of rock and metal music, because my father was like big into like Led Zeppelin and stuff like that. So I remember listening to those records growing up, and then once I sort of got to my teen years, that was around about the time that I sort of developed my own taste a bit more getting into sort of your Guns N' Roses and Metallicas and Megadeths and Panteras and stuff, and ended up sort of quite fancying having to go at playing guitar. So I sort of bought a cheap guitar and started noodling around on it. Found I had a bit of a knack to it, and just kind of stuck with it. And yeah, my musical taste through the years from there kind of went heavier. I went more into like death metal type stuff. And then, as I said, around about the time that we started Pythia, it was around about that time I'd kind of gone through all the heavy stuff, and I'd actually come back to wanting more melodic stuff. And so I was listening to sort of more power metal and progressive metal, and even like older traditional stuff like Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, which I'd kind of skipped over initially, but I kind of, it was like, oh, that's not heavy enough for me. But then later on, I got more into these weird things like melody
Yeah.
stuff.
Important things.
Actually,
Yeah.
yeah, which is like, don't need that. We just go, but yeah. And so once myself and Mark wanted to start dabbling with doing some more melodic stuff, and I said it was around that time. I said this was back in the early 2000s. So even though Nightwish is a huge band now, but back then Nightwish were not that big.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
I saw them around about that time. I saw them at like a venue that held 2,000 people or something, and there wasn't that many sort of female-fronted, whatever you want to call it, metal bands. Well, now there's lots of them, but back then it was quite a niche thing.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first heard Nightwish, I remember the first time thinking, "Oh, I really like the music. I'm not sure about the vocals. It's like I like them, but I don't know if they really fit." And it was just because I hadn't heard that before,
Yeah.
metal with like a soprano operatic
Guys.
voice.
Yeah.
It was so different. But once I got used to it, I was like, "Yeah, I really do like it. It really does work. It's a really good dynamic of the sort of metal you think of being, I don't know, sort of quite a masculine type sound, and this feminine voice on top of it. It gives a really good sort of balance
Absolutely.
between the two. It's really interesting. That's why we thought it'd be interesting to do a project like that. And so yeah, and through the years I've got more into power metal stuff, from progressive
Mm.
stuff and all sorts of these days. God, I listen to everything from grindcore to like pop punk and everything in between. Really, it's but I just love music, and it's like if it gives me goosebumps.
Mm.
It gives me goosebumps, no matter what genre it is. In a funny way, it's just what it is. I still have a big passion for music and new music, new bands. I don't just listen to the old stuff. I'm always on the lookout for new bands, new releases. I still love all that stuff.
Well, he said something. I mean, he said a lot of important things there, but one thing that really sticks out to me, I love music, can't play a note. So what he said was stick with it. So all you guys out there that love music, give it a try like he did. I tried playing guitar, thing, piano, but stick with it and you'll be like these guys. That is the key, sticking with it. not giving up, not thinking like I did, I'll never play this or I'll never do this. Stick with it. I love that. Keep that keep that up front. Now I think you guys have already begun touring the new EP, haven't you?
Well, we've got a
So we've got
show coming up.
I'm sorry.
We've got one show coming up.
Oh, good. And when's that? And tell us a little bit about it. And who else is going to be there? Or...
You're playing, it's the 5th of July in London, obviously over here in the UK. And the other bands we got on the bill are a band called Sellsword, who are a power metal band from over here, and a band called Tales of Time, who are another sort of female-fronted symphonic metal band from over this way as well. And so that's
yeah,
our first
I
show
tried looking
playing
them up. I
the new
want to look
material.
them up.
Yeah,
The
well,
Tales of
they're
Time.
good bands. We sort of personally invited them to come and be on the bill. We wanted to make sure it was a really nice, strong three-band show for people to enjoy. And hopefully, if that show goes well, then we'll book some more. But we'll see how that one goes first. It's a funny time with live music a little bit these days. Sometimes it's difficult to get people off the sofa and away from Netflix to come and see a heavy metal show.
Yeah.
You know.
Do that. Yeah, it's Father's Day, so things are coming back to me about my dad. And one of the things he said, because I wanted to go see Zeppelin and Genesis, all these bands, he's like, Mark, don't just buy the album. You can listen to them over and over. And it's like, yeah, and save money, but it's like, no, but you want to experience the real, see these people live. So, yeah. And he didn't understand. His generation didn't understand that. Glenn Campbell and all that kind of stuff. You didn't need to see them live, I guess, and they probably didn't have that interesting presentation. I don't know, but my generation and your generation, we want to see the real thing. We want to see people live. So yeah, definitely go and see these guys. How is the EP doing? Is it selling really well? I know I definitely wrote a good review, but hopefully other people are also doing the same thing and reaching out to you and wanting to hear more.
Yeah, see, as far as I can tell, it seems to be going down well. I think the sales to our store have been decent, and the Spotify numbers and the YouTube numbers and all that look good. I mean, as I say, we are an independent band, so we're never going to compete with the millions of views of people. We're talking more in the thousands than the millions or whatever. But it seems to be going down well, and the reviews all seem to be good and that. So that's all we can ask really.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, had a few positive comments.
Good, and it takes time, like you said, because you don't have the marketing PR infrastructure going for you. But yeah, all right, and let's see. Are either of you involved in any other solo projects, or is this the sole focus for both of you? Yeah, we'll ask each of you. Go ahead.
I can go. I've probably got.
Yeah, you go first.
Okay, I've probably got the shorter answer, which is not really, but I kind of dabble in sort of session work here and there. So I do the odd kind of guest appearance or sort of fill in for other people at gigs and that sort of thing. So I've done a fair few like guest spots over the years for people, but I don't have a sort of solo project or another band going on.
Yeah, I actually do have another couple of groups technically. Myself and Mark, the drummer from Pythia, we also have a group called Phobeta, which is more death metal-y type stuff, with his wife on vocals on that, but doing like extreme metal stuff. So we've kind of got that project to do the real heavy stuff, and then the more melodic stuff we can do with Pythia.
Gotcha.
And also now is a fairly recent thing. I've started playing in a group called Strigoi, which has a couple of the guys from Paradise Lost in it.
Okay.
One of their guitarists, things weren't working out a couple of years ago, and they got in touch with me to see if I'd be happy to step in. So I stepped in, played some shows with them, and it went well. So technically, I'm in that band as well now, but that band's a bit on the back burner at the moment because Paradise Lost have just released a new album, and they've got to concentrate on doing all that. But as and when that's quiet, I'm sure that band will do some gigs and maybe some new material as well.
Well, yeah.
At the moment, it's Pythia is the our main focus at the moment because the new release has come out.
Well, yeah, the death metal, I just don't get into it. And that's okay. You don't have to like everything. But
Yeah.
the other one, if you want to send me some information, I'd be happy to cover it.
Yeah.
Got an album.
I'll send you over some stuff to check out. Again, that's quite heavy as well, but you might enjoy it.
Sure. All right. And one other thing, I'll just throw this out to both of you. If you could collaborate with anyone, let's just say, Robert Plant had put out an invitation and said, does anyone want to play with me, play some music with me? Would you take the invitation? I'm not saying Robert Plant, but anyone that you would choose if you could.
Oh, that's a tough question.
That one we're ready for, yeah.
Now, funny enough, that was something I was thinking about a little while ago, just thinking about like what we're going to do in the future with Pythia, and just crazy thoughts come through your mind. Sort of thinking maybe the next thing we'll do will be all acoustic, or maybe there'll be no guitars on it, or maybe it'll all be a cappella. I just come up with ridiculous ideas.
Oh,
but
wow.
one of the things I was thinking about, like maybe the next release, maybe we should like collaborate with different people on each song. It was only just a crazy idea. I haven't actually thought about it at all beyond that. But like,
well,
yeah, collaborating with different people would be something fun to try at some point.
give it some thought, and if you have a paper and pen, write down the name Bella Morte and just go and look at what they did. They are a strong band, but there were some instruments that they loved to hear and didn't know how to play them. They went out and looked throughout the world and pulled in people to play on their album. So Bella Morte, it's metal, but just check them out, and that might be a way to sort of get around that. But they definitely collaborate well with a lot of people around the world.
Yeah, might be something fun to think about at some point. Yeah.
And Sophie?
I've just been trying to think of what my answer is. So a while ago, I saw there's a band called Soen, who I saw them do like an acoustic set where they had some female vocals, which they don't normally have, going on like some duets and some backing parts, and it just sounded amazing. So I don't have a specific answer, but like just to be involved in something like that would be really cool.
Excellent. Yep. There's a lot of these metal gurus out there, like for instance, Arjun Lucasen and people like that, that bring in vocalists and artists to play music, or play guitar, play keyboards. And there's a lot of those people out there that are looking for talent like that. So yeah, I think I'm sure you'll find it, especially with that.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned about Arya Lucasen. It was like a few years back when I first heard Arion stuff and that, and it was so eye-opening for me, and it was really inspiring for me, because at that time, I think it was around the time when the 01011 album came out.
That was an excellent album.
At that time, for some reason, I was a bit like, all the new music that was coming out at the time was just feeling very samey, and I was a bit sort of feeling a bit uninspired when it was coming time to write music and that. And then I heard one of the tracks, I think it was Age of Shadows, came on some internet radio thing, and it absolutely blew me away. I was like, this is exactly what I want. I want lots of different voices doing different characters. I want big long songs, big long concepts, just all the rules, throw them out the window and just do something completely out there, completely not commercial, not standard. And it just, it absolutely blew me away. And I've become a massive fan of his stuff ever since then. I always find it really inspiring to have someone who has that sort of creativity and confidence. They'll just come up with this sprawling story and then just handpick all the people they want to play all the parts and just bring it all together. Obviously, it's fantastic. I'm a big fan of his work.
He's got a new album coming out, and he just released, I think, the first single, which is like a 20 or 30-minute extravaganza. I still haven't even listened to the whole thing, but for me, Under the Waves, I think, is the name of the song from that 010 whatever it was. And I've always I love the sea, but dreaming about being under the sea like that and living under the sea, and he just put a whole different perspective on it if you listen to that song. But yeah, definitely, yeah. If you haven't, Sophie, if you haven't heard him, check him out.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard a few bits. Thinking of bands that have lots of vocalists and guest spots. I did see Avantasia a little while ago, and they were awesome.
Yeah, definitely. All right, and we talked just a little bit before we got started, but you mentioned that you are working on. They're going to do another 5-song EP. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Do you have a title, concept, anything you want to say? You don't have to, but it's up to you guys if you want to talk about it.
Well, unfortunately, there's not much to say about that at the moment because we haven't started on it yet.
Oh, okay.
But the plan was once, we were writing for this. My plan was, okay, we'll write 5 songs and release that as like an EP, and then later on, a year or two later, we'll do another 5 songs and release that as like the part 2. So it's kind of 2 EPs, and then people can put them together. It's almost like side A and side B of a record,
Oh, okay.
come together to make an album as such. And sort of the reasoning behind that actually was not so romantic. It's because of it seems when we released the last album, The Solace of Ancient Earth, it got good reviews and everything, but I noticed on Spotify and that the first few songs got a good number of listens, but then after that it tailed off. And so I think the way that a lot of people consume music now through streaming and stuff rather than, I mean, I still like buying CDs. My daughter buys a lot of vinyl, but a lot of people consume music through streaming services, and so they don't necessarily listen to like the whole album.
Like
they
we
might just
do.
listen to a few tracks, or they might check out like a playlist which has got various bands or various things on it. And so because of that, and so at the time I remember seeing that thinking, oh, it's a bit disappointing because there's some songs on our last album, like the last couple of songs, I was really proud of.
Yeah.
And it's like no one bloody listened to them.
That's a shame. Yeah.
It's a bit disappointing. So then my plan was then I thought, okay, with this one, maybe if we just make 5 songs, but we'll make a music video for each one of them, just a simple music video. But so it's kind of like each 5 song has got its own. It's almost like its own single.
Yeah.
So that then hopefully that way people will check out all 5 of the songs and they'll all get an equal chance at being heard. And then the idea is then do that again in a year or 2 time, and then you've got a whole album where hopefully people will have actually checked out all 10 of the songs rather than just 1 or 2. That was my thinking behind it anyway.
Well, and I like that photo that you did where you showed all 5 tracks from a YouTube standpoint and put it together in one picture that, hey, look, there's 5 of them. Check out each of these on YouTube or, whatever you listen to. So
I kind of wanted that to almost look like a sticker album. It's like complete the set. If you've missed one of these, go and check it out. You want to check out all 5 of them, complete the set.
Yeah, no, that was perfect. Yeah. Sophie, anything you go ahead. I don't want to cut anyone off. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's all right.
As I cut her
I guess I've been kind of mulling over recently. I mean, I don't tend to start writing my parts of the releases until Ross has already done his parts. So
music,
so I haven't kind of been able to give a whole lot of thought to it yet. But one thing I have been mulling over is whether to kind of keep with the same kind of lyrical themes or whether to kind of go in a slightly different direction. And I'm not quite decided on it, but if it is sort of thematically similar, then I'm collecting inspiration, I guess. So
okay. Well,
I'm kind of the same way with the music at the moment. I'm thinking for the next 5 tracks, do I carry along a similar vein, or should I just do something completely different? And again, I haven't really decided yet. We'll see when the time comes.
Well, let's do this. Explain to me the title, and tell me if I'm saying it right. V Part 1, Unhallowed. So you're already saying that this is just part 1. Hold on, this second part is coming. But go ahead and explain the concept behind that. Yeah.
You can explain that, Sophie.
Yeah, it's not very involved. V is just the Roman numeral for 5, and it's the 5th release. Um, so I guess you could either read it V Part 1 or 5 Part 1. Unhallowed is just the name of one of the songs, but I think it ended up being the song that we put first, and um, it sort of encompasses some of the things that are kind of lyrically there on the album. So a lot of it is about kind of curses. I was quite inspired by like Greek tragedy and things in the lyrics on this album. So I thought Unhallowed was quite a kind of just in terms of it meaning bad things happening. It was quite a fitting title in that way.
Well, let's go ahead and we'll talk about it now. But it starts out, it is just, if you do play this live, I hope you'll start the live show with this, because this is just unbelievable. If you guys haven't heard it yet, it opens up. I said in my interview, it sounds like whirling and winds from the North Sea. And then, she comes on the line and just boom. But the power of the music, everything about this is just, it's like you can imagine the band just jumping out on stage and playing the song. It catches you. It caught me anyway.
Yeah, we do generally like on our albums for the first track to be fairly energetic, to kind of go wallop, like let's go, and then we can go on a journey from there. But we do generally like, I think of all of our, that one's not super fast. Most of the albums have started with quite a fast song. We tend to like doing that.
And the drumming is just fantastic. You mentioned that he's, you and he are, the pair that put this whole thing together. And I can see how he can definitely play death metal, because those drums are like cool drums, Carrie's type drums. They're really heavy and powerful, and it just gives a whole sound. And then Sophie's voice is deeper and not as soprano as some of the other people out there, and it melds together perfectly. Do you want to talk a little bit more about it instead of me? I shouldn't be
We are to say, from a music point of view, yeah, the first track, Unhallowed. The funny thing with that song is this often seems to be the way things go, that when we demo songs, you get an idea of how they're going to sound and stuff. But then once we get the final proper recordings done and they're all mixed and mastered and we hear them back, suddenly you get certain songs like that song. When we demoed it and that, I thought, oh, that's a cool song. But I didn't think too much beyond that. But then once we got the final mix and master it back and everything, it was saying like, wow, that song's really good. Like, that's come out really good. Like, maybe that should be the opener, because we hadn't decided on the track order at that point. And that's why, like, oh, yeah, maybe that should be the opener. But it's like, okay, but if that's going to be the opener, we probably need to have, it shouldn't just start. We're probably going to have something atmospheric at the beginning. And that's when I was, oh, hang on, I quickly grabbed a laptop. I had Sophie's vocal tracks on there. It's like, oh, hang on, let me try taking this vocal harmony bit that's later on in the song, and we'll put that at the beginning and put some wind effects on it. And it's like, it's just got quite a last minute thing. You put this stuff together, you listen to it and go, oh, that worked, right, let's do that, And it's funny how the creative process, we've had that a lot of the time in the past, there's been songs that have been almost deleted and forgotten about, and they've ended up being like the first single, because it just suddenly all comes together at the last minute. And with Unhallowed, it was a song that I always thought it was a good song, but then the final performances of it really came together strong, and it just felt like, okay, that's the song that I think the EP needs to start with, because it just came out really strong.
Yeah, that intro of that song I think really makes it. So it's funny that was kind of a last minute addition.
Yeah.
I think talking lyrically primarily, Unhallowed there's various bits on a couple of the songs that I've like nabbed out of Greek mythology, and this one was the Curse of the House of Atreus. So it's kind of to do with like different generations of the same family just being kind of doomed to repeat the mistakes of the previous, and it's all very violent in that regard. So yeah, it was. Yeah, I'd been wanting to explore that a bit more. There wasn't much of that sort of thing on the album that we did previously, that was more kind of Anglo-Saxon poetry that I focused on then. So it was cool to kind of do something slightly different.
Excellent. Keep that up. That is perfect. Path of Decay in the music video is excellent. And I think now you have music videos for all of them. At the time that I was writing, I think there were only 4, but now you also have a 5th one, right? Talk a little bit about the music videos. They're performance videos for most of them, and absolutely gives people a chance to see what you guys would be like in concert. But talk about that with Path of Decay, which is also a powerhouse.
Yeah, well, yeah, musically, Path of Decay. I mean, this is something that won't necessarily mean much to you because you're new to the band. But if anyone who's like been a fan of Pythia for a while and knows the previous albums, music-wise, this EP, I almost wanted it to be kind of like a best of. So there's like certain parts on certain songs which like similar to ideas we've used in old songs, especially stuff off the first album. Because I just felt I wanted to make these 5 songs almost like if someone asked, "Oh, what does Pythia sound like?" You'd play them these 5 songs, and that's kind of like a best of encompassing all our various sounds and styles.
He was really pissed that those people didn't listen to those other songs. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So with the song Path of Decay, I think it was the first one musically that we wrote for this, and it was kind of inspired by with older songs. There's a song called Sarah, a song called Bring Me Home. Parts are a bit like a song called The Circle, which are songs off our older albums, but just just taking some ideas of them and using them in a different way. And so that's something I wanted to do a bit more on this. I think sometimes I was talking to a musician friend a while back, and I was saying about how I'm kind of always obsessed on writing new stuff, enjoying something different. It's almost like if I write something and it works great, I go, cool, right, on to the next thing, and I never do it again. And my friend was like, that's stupid. If you've written something and it works well, why would you never do it again? It's like, yeah, that's a good point, actually. I'm just,
yeah.
If we try something that works really well,
those.
maybe I should consider using that again in the future. So that's with these songs. It was a little more like not being intimidated by using some ideas from older songs, but used in a different way. So Path of Decay, I think, was very much like that. Sort of like a very sort of classic Pythia single type song. And yeah, the idea with the music videos, it's just again when I was thinking about just this being a 5-song EP, I thought we need to have a video for each song, even if the video is just simple. We haven't, we're an independent band. We can't be riding dragons and fighting hordes or whatever. The videos are just going to have to be something quite simple. And again, when we've done videos in the past, when we've tried to do some more extravagant videos, they've come out cool on that. But it's always been when we've done simpler videos, I've kind of been happier with the end result in a way. I suppose it's simpler, less to go wrong, I guess. But and so the idea was like, okay, well, let's just try and do 5 videos, but they're just going to have to be a simple performance thing. And also, we basically did them all in like one day, the videos.
Wow.
Which is because the 6 band members do not live anywhere near each other.
Oh, okay.
We've got 6 band members, and we live in 6 different counties. Literally, like I think I'm closer to Paris than I am a bassist. Like we live a long way away from each other, so we're not all together in the same place a lot.
And we over here in America look at England, and I hear this a lot, and I'm like, are you kidding? It's one tiny island, and yet it's a tiny island, but the traffic, you're not adding in the traffic part.
And so it was kind of like, if we're all going to be together, then we've got to make sure we get all 5 videos done at once, because we don't know when we'll all be in the same place at the same time again. So we just made sure we were organized, got the videos done, and and they came out. So they're quite simple videos, but I think they on the plus side, because we're quite sort of an energetic live band, I think it gets the energy across quite well. If we were all just stood there staring at our toes, it would probably be a bit boring. But because we give it a little bit of welly, I think it gives the videos a bit of energy at least.
One thing I wanted to add to that whole discussion you said there, it was really good. Think of how many bands have left gold records laying on the table. And as you were saying that, the very first thing that came to mind was this new remade Beatles track. Can you imagine they did that when George Harrison was alive and said, nah, this is no good, and now they bring it back and it's platinum or whatever it is now. But yeah, I mean, that's just one example, but think of all the bands that probably have, that song that this isn't good and this isn't up to our usual caliber. And yet if people heard it, who knows, but yeah, very important. If you think it's good, put it out there, let people decide. I agree with you. Yeah. Sophie, you've been sitting there. It looks like you want to say something.
And just on that point, it's there's definitely been a few bands where they'll release an album and then like 5 years later they'll release a deluxe version of the album that has a bunch of rejected bonus tracks, and I'll be like, these are the best ones.
Yeah, no, that's true. There's so many of those. Yeah.
Mm.
And I'm thinking of Marillion too. Marillion was like that Fish era Marillion where all of a sudden you'd hear these extra singles. It's like, why didn't you guys put that on the album? But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. In terms of Path of Decay, it was interesting. I didn't know that Ross had been kind of channeling older Pythia with that one, but it makes sense because it's probably my favorite one on the EP, and I really like Pythia's early stuff, which I can say because I wasn't on it. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It was the first song that we wrote for the EP, and I remember we'd had a period where we weren't writing anything because we were focusing on touring, and then the pandemic happened. So I get this song via email, and Ross is like, "Oh, I've started writing stuff for the new release," and I open it, and I could just hear the melody for the verse immediately. I quite often find that like writing takes me a few goes, but with that one, it just came very naturally to the point where I was like, did I accidentally steal this from somewhere? I don't think I did, but it felt like it came very naturally. It's funny this was the first one that we wrote and the first one that we released as well. And so when it came out, I sent the video around to a few people, and some of them just wanted to talk about Ash's hair in the video. Like, how does he keep it in such good condition? I don't know.
Yeah, we've got something for everyone, I guess.
Yeah.
One other thing about this song, and probably both of you may not have even heard of the band Kansas, but the violin part towards the end took me back to a famous song, Cheyenne Anthem. Have either of you heard that song or anything from Kansas, the progressive rock band from?
I know of Kansas, but I only know like their, famous songs like "Carry On My Wayward Son" and stuff like that.
Sure.
I don't know the song you mentioned.
If you get a chance,
so I didn't steal it from them.
No. I'm not saying you did. No. But it's keep the violin in there because it is awesome. I mean, it just really, for me anyway, and hopefully for other people that have been around as long as I have, they'll recognize and they'll say, "Oh my God, this is." I mean, everything else is good. You don't have to mimic Kansas, but it just gives you another point of reference. And thank you. I think I said that in the review. Thank you for that. It was wonderful. But yeah, if you get a chance, Cheyenne Anthem, it's all about Native Americans and how they viewed the move west of the rest of us colonists. All right. A Curse in the Blood. Let's talk about that one. Another great song, but you guys tell me about the concept and all behind that.
Yeah, so with that one, funnily enough, after me just saying that the idea was it to almost be a bit of a best of, that song's kind of completely different to anything we've done before.
Oh, okay.
But which just I think the main riff I came from that just jamming around on the guitar and just playing something. Oh, that's quite good. I'll just write that down, and then the way. Actually, I should probably explain the way we write as a band is generally every member has free reign on their parts. But normally I go first. Normally I'll come up with sort of the guitar riffs and the basic structure first.
Yeah.
And I'll record that. Yeah, and then I'll email that over to our drummer, Mark, and he'll come up with drum parts for it. And then we'll email that over to normally our keyboardist, Marcus, and he'll come up with some basic keyboard parts for it. And then we'll get it over to Sophie for her to start writing the lyrics and the vocal melodies. And then sort of the lead guitar and the bass are the sort of cherry on the top of the cake at the end type thing. So everyone has free reign on their parts.
That's good.
And so like I wouldn't ever claim that I am the songwriter. So I just come up with the foundations and everyone builds from there. And there's often things where I think it's going to go one direction, but then once the drums are added, it's like, oh, that's totally not what I was expecting, but that's cool. And it's not also going to be a lead guitar part or a vocal part, which completely changes the vibe of that section. It's like, oh, that's not what I was expecting, but that works well. And so it's good that in the end, the final sound, it really does have everyone's influences on it. Like it really does, the vibe can change on it. And yeah, Path of Decay, that's one of my favourite songs from it. I think partly because it was so different than anything we've done before. I do still have that built-in thing that I want to do new, different things.
Yeah.
And so that song,
you want to be stretched as an artist, yeah.
I think that's the thing. I think often I'm too concentrated on keeping myself interested and happy, and I forget we've actually got fans, and I should probably consider their feelings.
Well, yeah, but if you're not happy, they're not going to be happy. I mean,
well, yeah, that's
creating
that's
something.
True. If I do something too weird, maybe I'll be happy, and they'll be like, "What the hell's this?" but yeah, with that song, like having a quieter sort of more acousticy verses. The verses on that remind me a little bit of like Queensryche, having this sort of like clean bits and stuff, which is something I'd wanted to do for a while, but just the song had never come along. I tend to just write very naturally. I can't force or have to have this part. No, the songs just come how they, they just kind of fall together how they fall together. So even though I might want to have done that in the past, there was never the right song for it. But then when this one came along, so, oh, cool, can have some clean verse bits we can do. And so I like the fact that it's quite dynamic. The choruses are heavy and big, but then the verses are quite stripped down. And I'd say I've wanted to do a track like that for a while, so I'm particularly proud of that one, the way it came out. And that's one, especially once it came back with vocals on the demo, it's like, whoa, that sounds big, like the chorus and that. It's had a really big, epic sound to it. So yeah, that's one of my favourites off the EP.
Well, now that you mentioned Queensryche, I can't walk away from that. I've been trying to request several female artists to do Silent Lucidity. Just I'll throw it out there. Hopefully you'll jump on it. I would love to hear that with a female voice. He's got a fantastic voice. There's no doubt about it. And it probably scares the hell out of anyone thinking there's no way I would match this. But it would just be so cool to hear how a woman interpreted that song. I mean, it's a fantastic song. But anyway, I'll throw that out there. Sophie, go ahead. There's another thought, but you took me down that road, and thank you.
So yeah, I think with what Ross was saying about the dynamics, that kind of meant that I got to approach the vocals in quite a unique way with that one. It was cool to get to experiment with more kind of different sort of, yeah, just more dynamic range, really having the clean vocalists and getting to kind of come down really quiet when some of the other songs are sort of so heavy all the time that you can't really do that. I think it's that one and one of the other tracks I had a bit more opportunity to do things like that, and I haven't for a while, so it was cool to kind of think of a new way of approaching those parts.
And just to add to that one thing, the lead singer for Queensryche lives about an hour from me, and I was here during the 90s when now I can't remember the album, but it's right back of me. Yeah, Empire. When Empire came out, and oh my God, that just took over the city. And yeah, it's a fantastic album. If you haven't heard it, please give it a listen. But hopefully you'll get inspired. But there was something else I was going to ask, and it'll come back to me. But I got locked in on this stuff. Is Muses of the Night? No, it's not okay. Muses of the Night. Talk a little bit about that. What are some of the muses of the night for the two of you? Oh boy.
I don't know about muses, vices of the night, probably about beer and whiskey. But
Well, we all like that. Yeah.
Um,
but yeah, that song. I'll just do a quick one from a music point of view. Funny enough, you just said about how like the previous song was more dynamic. This one is not dynamic. This
No.
one is just a drum fill, then go. Like, and it's just
Yeah.
heavy the whole thing. Which again, I like. We've done tracks like that in the past, and they've worked quite
That's
well.
good.
And again, there's some tracks we done in the past along those lines, and there's bits of it I thought were good, but bits of it I thought, that didn't quite work as I'd hoped. So this was kind of almost like, right, let's try that again, but try it a different way and see if I can get it to work exactly how I wanted it to. And that was a song that I think came out strongly as well. Funny enough, I've seen quite a few people saying that's their favourite song off the EP, which I was a little surprised at because it's so
It's a good
full
one.
on. I thought it might be like a bit whoa, like, but I think if people like the more full on heavy stuff, they do seem to particularly like that song.
Sophie?
yeah, yeah, it's good. We have quite a few kind of heavier tracks like on the previous album as well, and I think they do always go down quite well. One thing I really like to do when Ross sends those heavier tracks over is to kind of like contrast them with like a really kind of soaring vocal line that's kind of not not going as fast. I think that the contrast works really well where you've kind of got the really kind of thunderous riffs going on
Yeah.
underneath. Um, this was another Greek mythology inspired one, and a lot of I'm not an expert on this by any means, but in a lot of sort of Greek tragedies and things, they talk about the muses quite often, so that was kind of where the title came from.
Okay. And then you close it with a bright flame. And here I actually mentioned the Danny Carey level of drumming. It's just fierce. And thank you for that. It opens up powerful. But go ahead and talk about that. What a way to
Yeah,
close it down.
that's another song. That's another one of my favourites on the EP. It might be my favourite. And that was, yeah, the idea for that sort of tribal type drum, that was actually my idea. When I demoed the song, I was like, I think it should start with like just drums because that's not something we've done before. And I think that could work quite well. Again, I wanted it to sort of be more dynamic. So not everyone all in at once, like have the drums and then we'll build some bits on top of it. And so I sort of said, when I demoed the guitars and that, sent them over to Mark, our drummer, I said, I think it should start with like some sort of a drum
Yeah.
beat type thing, see what you come up with. And then when he sent it back with that on, I was like, perfect. Yeah, that works great. Like,
That's
and
what we
that's
were
what I really
looking
like.
for. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't have a specific idea in mind, but he's a very creative drummer. And me and him, we've played in bands like, oh God, since like the late 90s. So we've
Wow.
our writing and our playing together, it works. We're kind of in sync with each other
It's like a brother. Yeah.
subconsciously, I think, no matter what he writes, no matter what I write, the other person knows what to do with it, sort of thing. And that's another one that I like the fact it's dynamic, almost like a roller coaster. It has quiet bits, it has heavy parts, and that's another one. There's certain parts in that that are slightly reminiscent of some older songs of ours. But again, that came about, I think, a while back. I was listening to the first album, and I was thinking, oh, it might be good to get this song back in the set list or this song back in the set list. And I thought, actually, no, let's just write a new song in that kind of style, because especially with those older albums, then it was interesting to think, okay, if I wrote a song in that style now with the band members we've got now, especially Sophie, how would it come out? Because apart from me and Mark, the rest of the band are different now than when we wrote those songs. So even if I'm coming at it from a similar angle as I did
Yeah.
then, the end result's going to be quite different because once everyone else has added their flavors, especially Sophie, then it's going to come out very different. And yeah, that song came out. I'm really proud of how that one came out. And there's actually some parts in that. I think especially like the bridge part in that, when there's sort of the layered vocals on that, that actually really did remind me of something from like early Pythia albums. I think it's probably the harmony or something. It's that sounds very Pythia, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was really proud of how that song came out because that's one of those songs that I had an idea of what I wanted it to be, and that happened. Which that doesn't always happen. Sometimes you've got an
Doesn't always
idea
happen. Yeah.
and it ends up being something totally different, which is great as well. But that's one of those ones where the idea actually came to fruition. It came out exactly how I hoped it would, sort of thing.
Perfect.
Yeah, I
Sophia.
think that
or
I think
something.
the bridge part that you were just talking about, that might be my favorite moment on the whole record, for basically the same reasons you said. It's um, but yeah, it's another fun one dynamically. You get to do lots of different things. The chorus in that one has some interesting time signatures going on as well, which is cool. I did not find it easy to write, but we got there in
Probably
the
not. Yeah.
end.
That's Prague for
Yeah,
you.
I think
Yeah,
that's the thing
yeah.
because when a few years back I started getting into more proggy stuff. It's actually funny enough. It was a guy I was working with at the time, and he was very into prog stuff. And obviously, I'm a metalhead, so me and we used to swap CDs, and so he'd lend me like all these CDs of stuff like Opeth or older stuff like Pink Floyd or
Yeah.
Camel and all these things. And I'd be lending him, sort of Pantera and Machine Head and things like that. And some of the stuff he lent me, I really liked. I got quite into proggy stuff around that time. So now the problem is now sometimes I'll write stuff in a slightly weird time signature, and it doesn't seem
Yeah.
weird to me. I'm like,
Yeah.
what for? It's normal. But it's just because I've been listening to a lot of time signatory stuff. It feels normal to me. But normally when I send it to Mark, he's got to write the drums. He's like, what is going on here? He's like, how are you working out? It'll be fine.
Tell him listen to Los Endos by Phil Collins and Genesis. He'll love it if he hasn't heard it
Right.
yet. Los Endos, yeah. Trick of the Tail. I think it's the last song on Trick of the Tail or one of the last songs. But as a drummer, he'll love that.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Anything by Tool, but also Dream Theater. There's, Pull Me Under if he hasn't heard that one. You've probably heard that, right? Pull Me Under. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm familiar with quite a lot of Dream Theater,
Yeah. All right. We've come to that point where I ask you, do you have anything else you want to mention? One last thing I forgot to say. You're talking about the new album 26 or by the end of this year?
well, we haven't started writing it
Okay.
yet.
So,
And normally, and because I explained earlier about the way we write, how everyone gets free reign on their parts, it means writing for us takes a little while. It's kind of writing one song is almost like writing 5 songs because each person has free reign on. So it takes us a bit longer to write. So yeah, we'll start thinking about ideas soonish, but it might be next year, it might be the year after. I don't know, to be honest. Only
okay.
time will
We'll
tell.
see.
Well, and you brought back the other question I was going to ask you. Once you get all this stuff together, do you meet on Zoom like this or one of these platforms and perform together? Or no, we got to schedule a time and we're all going to get together in the same room and play this stuff? How do you do that?
Well, most of the time we're only ever together like on stage playing
Okay.
a show. Like when we're writing the stuff, we just record stuff and email ideas back and forward to each other. And at times we manage to get in some sort of a group rehearsal, but it's normally only 3 or 4 of us there. Myself, Mark, and Sophie, and sometimes Jamie, our lead guitarist. We're kind of the closest geographically to each other. So I'm thinking, actually, in the next couple of weeks, I want to see if we can try and do a rehearsal before this gig to check
Mm.
that we can play these new songs. But
So
then
what you're
I do.
saying is Zoom, or not, I mean, it doesn't have to be Zoom, but these online platforms, you can't do a rehearsal.
Not
Not
Okay.
not
really.
Yeah.
not for rehearsals, no. I mean, the emailing ideas back and forwards online, technology is
Yeah.
brilliant for that. But for the actual rehearsals, I think you do kind of need to be in the room with each other because sometimes you
Yeah.
want to
Good.
tweak bits. You want to get a feeling for the vibe of the stuff and that. But we're even though we don't necessarily get together that often due to geographic reasons and that, on the plus side, everyone in the band is professional and reliable, and we know that if we have a show come up, we can trust everyone to do their homework and to turn up
Count
ready
on
to
everyone.
rock,
Yeah.
sort of thing. Yeah, sort of, which is nice because we haven't always had that in the early days of the band. Sometimes you have one or two band members. You're like, oh, hopefully he plays well tonight. But
Yeah.
these days, everyone's very professional and very reliable, so we never have to worry about that.
Great. All right. Now we've come to that point where I was going to, but do you guys have anything that I missed or didn't talk about that you'd like to talk about, or just anything you'd like to say before we close?
think I'm just happy that we finally managed to release it because it did take a while with the sort of between the way that we write and the pandemic and just everyone juggling all sorts of things. It took a bit of time, and so it's just really nice that it's finally kind of seeing the light of day. And I think it was worth all the time we spent on it.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I think I'm really happy with how it's all come out because we worked with a friend of mine, a different producer, to do the mixing on it, who we hadn't worked with before. But he's someone that I believed in. I thought he could do a good job, and I thought he'd done a great job.
Mm.
And the guy we worked with for the artwork was a guy we hadn't worked with before, but we gave him a brief explanation of what we were looking for, and I thought he delivered really well. So
Knocked
yeah,
it
it's
out
been
of the
really
park.
good. We've worked with a lot of new people for this who we thought could do a good job, and yeah, they all really delivered. So yeah, couldn't be happy with how it's all come out really.
And you brought up a good point that I mentioned in the review, but haven't even talked about. But the production on this is outstanding. You can hear her voice, you can hear every instrument. It's clear, it's powerful, and it's like we've kind of been saying. It's like having these people in the room playing, in front of you live. So yeah, hats off to the producer and the mixer and all those people that put this whole thing together because yeah, they really did a hell of a job on this. I'm glad you
Yeah,
mentioned that because I
really proud of how it came out. But also, I think through the years, we've sort of because we generally record ourselves. Like Sophie will, record vocals where she does. I'll book myself into a little local studio to record my guitar parts in a day. We don't all meet in the same studio. We tend to sort out recording our own parts separately. But through the years, because we've done a few albums now, we kind of got the hang of it now. We kind of know what we're doing as regards recording ourselves. So even when we deliver the tracks, the raw tracks to the guy to mix, they kind of sound quite good already, and
they're ready. Yeah,
it makes their job easier that they're not having to, you know, make this sound decent. It sounds good already. It's
yeah,
just make it even sound better, which comes from because we've spent time through the years learning how to do that stuff well. And every time you record something that the stuff we'll have learned from doing the last album, then we could apply to
Mm.
this EP, and everything we learned from this EP we can apply to the next thing. It's
yeah.
it's all a learning process. It's all just just kind of keep going, just keep working on stuff, and you just learn and get better at it as you go, sort of thing.
But yeah, please get out there and at least give this a listen, whichever platform you use, and hopefully you go out and buy it. I've bought it; it's coming in the mail. But I was hoping it would get here so I could, hold it up, but it'll probably be next week. But
Yeah, I did ask Mark. He deals with all that side of things. He said, "Oh, it's in the post. It should be with you shortly." But yeah,
and I'll
postal
make a big
services can be iffy these days. We'll see. Hopefully, it should be with you any day now.
I'll make a big thing of it on Facebook once I get it. But yeah, thank you for everything. Thank you for the music. Thank you for this interview. Anything else you guys want to add? And thanks for taking time out of your day because I know, like me, I'm working full time. These guys are working full time. They're trying to balance this love that they have for music and playing music, and they're able to take time to talk about it. And thank you for doing that.
Oh, thank you for wanting to talk to us.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you very much for having us. And yeah, the only thing I'd say to people, I assume if people are watching this, they probably are interested in new music anyway. But it's still like a big passion of mine. Like just sometimes people say, "Oh, there's no good new bands out there. All the old classic bands are the best." And that there's great bands out there.
Mm.
There's loads of great new bands out there. It's just a little more tricky to find them now because of social media and streaming. It's like there's so much out there. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to weed through and find the really good stuff. But there's brilliant stuff out there. All the time, I've got a couple of friends of mine that we message back and forth. Oh, have you heard this new band? Have you heard this new band? And I still love that. I still love hearing new bands, new music. I mean, one of the bands that we're playing this show with in London, Tales of Time, they're a new band, only just come out,
Yeah,
or whatever. And when I listened to one of their tracks, I was like, oh, wow, like, these guys have got a lot of potential. There's some really good songwriting here. Obviously, they're only a new band, so they're still learning the ropes on certain aspects of it and that. But but I could hear there's some great songwriting and there's a lot of potential with that band. And it's if I'd encourage people to always try to check out new bands, always, because there's great stuff out there. There always is. You just got to find it.
I could not say that any better. Yeah. And I've heard people complain, everything's pop, everything's rap. And it is the big stuff, the stuff that gets broadcast.
Yeah, the stuff on the radio is, but
Yeah,
if you
but
dig a little deeper, you'll find some gold.
I hate to punch their button again, but it's pearl hunting. It's all about pearl. Look for the pearls. That's Bella Noche or Bella Morte. I always say it wrong. Bella Morte, their album's called Pearl Hunting. You got to get out there and hunt for pearls. There's a lot of them out there. You just have to go looking for them now, which is actually fun. And that's how I ran into you. That's how I ran into some other bands. You got to get out there and look for them. If you love music enough, you'll find them. And as he said, there are plenty. You got to, I mean, it's not like in the past, the Led Zeppelin, Beatles, all these guys, they had the floor and no one else, you couldn't hear anyone else. But yeah, get out there and look. There's a lot out there, and there's a lot of very, very talented people like you two out there that need to be heard.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
All right. Any other comments, questions? Otherwise, I'll go ahead and pause the recording. But thank you again. Pythia. I said it wrong the first time I said Pythia, but it's Pythia. They keep correcting me there. But thank you again.
I've always pronounced it Pythia. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I think technically we are wrong because I think it comes from Greek and it is actually Pythia.
Oh, okay.
so you're right and we're wrong, but we say it Pythia.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, who cares? Yeah, the name
we
is
keep saying
important.
it. We'll convince everyone else they're wrong. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, and it's not about the name; it's about the music. But yeah, try to get the name right. But if you don't, listen to the music.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, I'm going to pause the recording and then we can just say goodbye. But thank you both for everything. This has been a great conversation, as I love these to be conversations and not, shows. It's not a show, it's talking about the album. So all right, thank you both. And hold on, I'm going to pause this.